Hey, yo, 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 yo. Yo, yo, yo. It's Mr. G coming at you live with a video about percent of change. Always an exciting topic, so I'm excited to get after it. Let's go. So, percent increase and percent decrease. So, these are the two types of percent of change that we can have. So, a percent increase is when we're comparing or we're describing how much a quantity increases compared to the original amount, and decreases is the opposite. We're comparing how much something changes based on how much it decreases based on the original amount. Now, examples of a percent increase or a percent decrease. We see this all the time in the real world. And so where we see percent decrease, sorry, I'm having some spazzes with my technology. Here we go. With percent decrease, we see it all the time with sales. When something goes on sale, it's being decreased by a certain percentage. So you might see a lot of sales say, oh, everything's 20% off. That's a percentage of change. It's changing by 20%, and that's the amount that it's being decreased. So we see percent decrease. The most we see them is in stores when things go on sale for 25% off, 20% off, 30% off, 50% off. And the higher the percentage, the more money off, because that's increasing the amount of percentage that is being decreased by. Percentage increase, examples of that would be sales tax. So right now, sales tax is somewhere, I think it's somewhere in between 8% and 9%. That is a percentage increase. It is the percentage based on the total bill, and then we increase it by that percentage of the bill. So if your bill was $20, then you're going to take whatever 8% of $20 is, and that's what you're going to increase it by. And then that's going to add on to your bill. We also see percentage of increase with markups. So people will mark stuff up by a certain percentage in order to make money off of it. So sometimes when you buy something, when you see things being sold at a store, like a t-shirt, for example, well, if someone's selling a t-shirt for $20, they probably didn't pay $20 for that t-shirt initially. They might have only paid $12 for that t-shirt. So they increased it by $8. Well, that means they marked it up by a certain percentage. So that'd be a percent increase. They marked it up so they can actually make money. They wanted to make a profit. So then they mark it up by a certain percentage, and that way they can make that amount of money. Okay, but the most common example for increase is taxes. Decrease is when things go on sale. So here is our formula for a percent of change. This is for both increase and decrease. It doesn't matter. So the percent of change is the amount of change divided by whatever we started with, whatever the original amount. And that's it. And that'll tell you what the percentage increase or decrease was. So here's an example. Amber got a raise, and her hourly wage increased from $8 to $9.50. What is the percent increase? So her amount, so this was her original amount. It says that she was increased from this to $9.50. So if I know percent of change equals amount of change divided by original amount, well, the original amount was $8. That was her original amount. That's where she started at. She increased to $9.50. That does not mean that I put $9.50 up here, because that is not the amount of change. That's just a new amount. That doesn't help me. What I need to do is I need to figure out, well, what was the amount of change to get from $8 to $9.50? What was her increase? Well, she went up $1.50. I go to figure that out by doing $9.50 minus 8. Knowing that she went up $1.50. So she went up $1.50, and that is going to be divided by, that's the amount of change, divided by the original amount. That's going to give me my percentage of change when I actually do the division. So I need to actually do 1.5 or $1.50 divided by 8. Make sure we always put the top dog inside the house. Very important when we do these division problems. That has not changed. So I'm going to do 1.5 divided by 8. And then I'm going to work on my division. Now, for the sake of time, I'm just going to tell you what the answer is. It's 0.1875. But I don't get to stop there. So when I do my division, I get 0.1875. But this is just the decimal. This is just the number. I have to actually change it to a percentage. And the way we change things to a percentage is once you do your division, you're going to have a decimal every single time. Well, maybe not every single time, but you should have a decimal 90% of the time. And then you're just going to move the decimal to the right twice. 1, 2. That means the change was she got an 18.75% raise. Her wages increased by 18.75%. So that means $1.50 is 18.75% of $8. And that was a raise that she got. She got an hourly increase of 18.75%, which worked out to be $1.50. So make sure we move that decimal over twice to get the correct percentage. That's how we go from percentages. And then if I wanted to go from a percentage back to a regular number, I would go back to the left twice. Okay. Looking at another one. Same formula. Nothing's changed. So price of a pair of shoes increases from $52 to $64. What is the percent of change? So amount of change divided by original amount. My original amount, it says from 52, so that was my original amount. So there's my denominator, and it went, looks like it changed from here to here, and it went up 12. Because it increased by $12. So now I actually have to do the division and do 12 divided by 52. And then I got to work it out. Okay, so then I got to work it out. Now, when you do the division, this one's going to go on for a very long time. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're just going to stop after 3 numbers after our decimal point. Just 3 numbers after our decimal point. I think that's plenty. So, because this one you'll get, let's see, 52 goes into 12 0 times, decimal, 0.230, and it's going to keep going and going and going. So 0.2307. If we just stop here at this 0, that's plenty. Because now what I can do is I know 12 divided by 52 is 0.230. I can now convert it to a percentage by moving my decimal place over twice to the right to get a percent of change of 23%, and it was a 23% increase. Sometimes I might ask if it was an increase or a decrease. Well, the price went up, so it was an increase. Okay, I want you guys to try this next one. Okay, so try this one. See how you do. Use the same formula. Amount of change divided by original amount. It's going to be the same thing over and over again. Amount of change divided by original amount. So pause it, try it, then unpause it, check your work, see how you did. Okay, grizzly bear population in Yellowstone National Park in 1970 was about 270. So there's my original amount. That's already my denominator. Over the next 35 years, it increased by about 115%. What was the population in 2005? So I'm sorry, I asked you guys to try this one, but it gave you a percent. I didn't even really look at the details. I should have remembered that. We changed it up a little bit. So this is a different kind of problem. You probably didn't know how to do this one. That's okay. So it increased by 115%. So instead of setting up amount of change divided by original amount, I need to figure out what is 115% of 270 to figure out. I need to figure out what is 115% of 270. And the way we figure out what 115% of 270 is, because if I know that it increased by 115%, then that means we got to figure out, well, what is 115% of that value? And we just do that by multiplying them. If I multiply 115% by 270, it's going to tell me what it is. But as I mentioned before, if we wanted to convert a percentage back over to another number, we got to move our decimal over twice to the left. Because that's 115.0. So I got to move my decimal over twice to the left. So it should be 1.15 times 270. So I need to actually do that multiplication. So now again, I'm just going to plug it into a calculator real quick just to save us time, so you guys don't have to watch me do some multiplication here. But I would set it up as 1.15 times 270, and I get $310. I'm sorry, 310.5. 310.5. So that was the amount that it increased by. So we figured out it increased by 115% of 270. So that means it increased by 310.5. Well, now I get to add that to the original amount here. So my original amount was 270. So I'm going to add 310.5 because that was the amount it increased. Right? We increased by this much, but we started off with this much. We increased by 115%. Well, this is 115%. So now when I add those up, we know there's about 580 and a half grizzly bears in Yellowstone National Park. It doesn't really make sense to have a half of a grizzly bear, so we'll call it 581 grizzly bears. Okay, so quick thing, if we want to know the percent, if we already know how much the percentage increase, so then what we'll do is we'll multiply that number by it to figure out what the actual amount was. Okay? Things to remember, big thing on this one is amount of change divided by original amount. You're going to hear me say that a lot. If we have our notes for percent of increase or decrease, then there's no reason to get any of these wrong. And then maybe also in things to remember, I would put something about percentages. So 50%. And then I would show an example of how I would change it to 1, 2, and that really is just 0.5. And then if I wanted to go from like a decimal 0.675, I would go 1, 2, and that becomes 67.5%. Just showing how we change a percentage to a decimal or a decimal to a percentage. Okay, here's 2 problems for you to try. Good luck. Thanks for watching. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Gordius out.